So if you've followed me for any length of time, you might know that I hit $1 million net worth at 29. But most recently, I realized that I actually have $1 million investment portfolio with my stocks and my half of my real estate investments, which is honestly pretty cool at just turning 32. Believe it or not, I was actually someone that 5 years ago had not invested. I sat with my notebook and I thought about, what have I learned? What does this version of me know that earlier version of me needed to know? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm so excited to just hang out, have a little bit of a chill session with you, and get into it. The first thing I thought about was, did I need to be told you're smart enough to do this? Did I think I was too dumb to invest? And the more I thought about it, I'm like, I don't really think it was that. Getting started has these extra hurdles. And I think the biggest lesson I needed to be reminded is that you've learned much harder things for much less return on investment. I built an e-commerce business without really knowing anything. I tackled my gut health. I planned my prom. I did all of these things that were way harder, that did not have the same return on investing that literal investing does. And so when I thought about it, I'm like, I think it's more of a kind of like a loss aversion thing, right? We're way more tempted to take action so that we don't lose something versus gaining something. But I feel like I wasn't being threatened. There was no threat to not investing, whereas something like paying your bills on time, okay, there's enough of a consequence where I'm gonna get an interest charge that you make sure you do that. And then every time it's almost like I'll do investing later. The best comparison I could have is brushing your teeth and flossing. I feel like if you don't brush your teeth, you just feel gross. You can feel the furries on your teeth. Maybe you have bad breath. There's so many immediate consequences. But flossing is one of those things where we always tell ourselves we're gonna floss more, we're gonna start flossing next week. And it's something that you don't feel like there's consequences, but then that's the thing that long-term really has more of the impact, or at least a major impact on your teeth. And even though investing felt like a non-essential risk to take, now being where I am and seeing how much money I've essentially accumulated for free, it just makes me want to shake myself and be like, the return on investment for figuring this out is so high. And again, you have learned much harder things for much less return on your time. The next thing I really thought about is just be delusional and run fast. And I want to say run as fast as you can. As someone that teaches how to build without burnout, obviously there's the asterisk if we don't want to burn ourselves out, but I really do believe in sprints and seasons. And I think if you can run as fast as you can now when you're getting started, it's going to put you in such a great position for later on. For myself, in the back of my head, always had this goal of having $1 million by 30. Being a millionaire by 30. My mom worked for a small company, and her boss was one of the few people I was exposed to early on that really had another level of success. And I remember he became a millionaire by 30, and I even interviewed him for one of my school classes. And I just had that as my secret North Star, that I thought it would be so cool, and I thought that's what success was. And I honestly didn't think it was going to come true. And even now sitting in that, being a millionaire, or I don't even say millionaire because I feel like it's so not what you thought it was gonna be. I'm not on a yacht. Well, I'm not sure why, but it's just so different. But I feel like that background delusion was actually really helpful in being but is it possible? There's no consequence if you can't invest 200K or 100K in a year. But if you can get close, you're so much closer than if you just decided I'm gonna invest $1,000 a month and call it 12 grand and call it a day. The next thing that I really wish that someone told me earlier was to stop trying to optimize everything so much and just use what's working. After our first business, we ended up walking away from, and then when we moved into our second businesses, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, this is a business that you have to do right from the start. You have to figure it out. You have to create something sustainable. But I wish someone told me was stop trying to optimize, first of all, everything at the same time. And also, you don't have to optimize everything right away. So in my second year of investing, this was during the pandemic. And so we kind of accepted that we weren't going to be traveling. And so I really was like, you know what? I'm going to take more coaching clients than I normally would. And I was coaching pretty much full time. Every day I would have multiple calls. And this was a really cash positive business. Obviously, I was making a lot of profit that year because your expenses are super low. I had a website and an email. But that whole year, I was trying to show up my best way as a coach. I was investing a lot of that money. But then on top of it, I was putting on so much pressure, telling myself like this isn't a sustainable business, because that's just trading your time for money. And that's not what I was trying to do. I really wanted to get into courses and programs and live workshops and do things where there was kind of that better return. But the irony is that coaching year is really something that helped get us where we are now. I kind of wish someone at the time was like, you know what, run with this for 1, 2, 3 years, whatever feels comfy. I would have like let go of all of the stress I was feeling of like, shoot, this isn't sustainable, and just leaned into the like, but it's working right now and it's really setting me ahead for the future. Just to put that ego aside and be like, you know what, who cares right now if at 28, 29, whatever, like you don't have the ability to make a 7-figure business yet, but you are doing something differently that's actually allowing you to accumulate wealth in a different way. And I think that's actually really cool. Like now I get to look back and be like, wait, now I have $1 million in a way. I feel like that's a big theme for me, is like letting myself enjoy and not being in such a like stress, expecting more spot from myself. Okay, this one is one that I actually think I've just kind of thought more and more about in the last year. It's something I would talk about earlier on, but then I almost had like, it just clicked more recently. But you're not crazy for prioritizing this. But it's also not normal. You're not crazy side is more so like be delusional, go for it. People do it, like I did it, so you can do it. But then the other side is like, it also isn't normal. My partner and I have been together over 10 years now. Even back like before 5 years, even like 3 years in, people were always asking us like, when are you gonna put a ring on it? When are you guys gonna get married? Are you guys gonna have kids? All of these questions. And what I realized is when you go into business for yourself, when you decide to be an entrepreneur, sometimes there's a curve of people in your life accepting that, but then they usually get on board and they've accepted that you're taking a non-traditional path. But then there's this weird double standard where they're okay with you taking a non-traditional path in your business and career side of things, but then they kind of expect you to hit the same milestones personally. So it's fine that you're building a business, but also are you still getting married before 30? That's $30K that we would rather put into investing. And I would sometimes feel like, am I wrong for that? Like, am I just seeing it as money? Am I missing out on like the memories and things that people are talking about? But for me, like a wedding has never been as big of a thing. And so I really needed to just remember that. And like, when I look back at it, there's no part of me that's like, I wish we got married sooner. We still haven't got married. But I look at like how we've hit our investing goals and like that honestly makes me really excited, and that's okay. Or maybe you're someone who you're single and you haven't prioritized a relationship because you really are trying to build this financial health for yourself. And that's okay too. Like people might make you feel bad. Like you should be dating, you should be doing, and you're like, I'm trying to do a hard thing right now. Like that's how I felt. I was trying to build my business. I was trying to invest a lot of money. I'm like, why do you want me to plan a wedding? Right? Let's put aside the money even of a wedding. You want me to plan a wedding right now? Like that's a lot. And you may even be an outlier within the entrepreneurship space. So that's been a really interesting experience too, of realizing like so many business owners are focused on that scaling, that for me to be like, oh, I'm actually okay with my annual revenue going up and down versus like always linear growth. Because a down year, maybe I'm renovating the cottage, or an up year, I'm just pushing really hard to get more money to invest. But then the next year I want to like travel more and chill. So like even within the entrepreneur space, the financial journey that I'm on is a little bit different, or maybe aligns with some people that they're doing and they're 10 years older than me. So even sometimes in a space where you're already with the outliers, you might still be one of the outliers. And I think that's important because sometimes I'm like, I already knew I was an outlier, but then like within that, you're like, I'm an outlier in the outliers. I feel like I've been talking so much about like, go, run, do it. But that's because for us, and for me, so much of my investing journey and success there has been because I did so much early. So that's why, like, if you're not doing it or not investing as much as you know you could be, do it. But I want to kind of flip it around a little bit. Travel. Travel is a 10x investment. I am someone that I traveled like, I did a lot of North American travel growing up. I grew up in dance competitions. We would go to like Brantford or like Boston. And then in our first business, we would travel for powerlifting meets. So we would go to Calgary, or we would go to like Killeen, Texas. So a lot of random travel, but any bigger travel, I had so much scarcity around. I didn't do big trips, and my parents always said, like, we have 3 kids, like we don't have money for that. And I think that really built into my money narrative around travel. But the last 2 or 3 years, we've prioritized travel more, and it's been such an experience. I was not traveling also a big part of it because we were so dialed in on it. Is that what got me to this point? So I want to acknowledge that to a certain degree, I think being so dialed in did help. But now that we're in more of a travel era, what I've really realized is the crazy thing with travel is it just feels like the most literal example of money flows. I feel like when we started traveling, I would have like a little mini vacation fund in a high interest savings account. And then we would travel, and I would just kind of pay off the travel with my regular paycheck I was paying myself. Or if it was a business trip, just like expense it through the business. And I kept having this like sectioned off, both in business and personal. I would section off money just for travel. And I was never tapping into it, even though we were traveling. And it really just showed me like, okay, travel and the cost of travel doesn't have as much of a negative impact on your bank account than you think. And it definitely doesn't have as much of a negative impact as it does a positive impact on who you become as a person. You become a better entrepreneur. You become just like a better soul, and not better as like 1% better, but like knowing yourself better. You become happier. You come back recharged. Like it's so important. And I feel like us being delayed in our travel experience means that now we're really leaning into it and enjoying it more. But it also means it has an impact on conversations like, do we want to have kids? Are we going to wait longer to have kids? If so, because I just feel like I want to still experience so many countries and so many places with my partner, Josh. I don't know, I have split feelings on it, but my gut is really saying that like we could have been traveling sooner. And I think it would have been really nice to have. We just could have afforded it earlier. And I think we still honestly would be where we are. I hope you're enjoying this because I'm having so much fun just chatting. Building off what I was saying with travel and that scarcity mindset that I actually have around it, it really made me realize like you may not have a number. And so what I mean by that is people think when I have this much money, I'm good, right? I think me even thinking that millionaire by 30, $1 million by 30, then I'm set. I think I just built it up to more than it was. One time I was, I think, updating our investments, and I had 2 of my investment accounts open. And maybe this story is going to tell you how bad my scarcity was. I hate to say it like it's like a present fact, but I opened 2 of my investing accounts and I saw the 2 numbers. And for the first time, I just like opened literally like my Apple calculator and I put those 2 numbers together. And I was staring at $515,000. And I was like, girl, how do you not feel safe when you have access to over $500,000 in cash? I think in my mind, I've done such a good job of compartmentalizing and being like, once I invest that money, that's not my money, that's future me's money. But like future me is also tomorrow me. And I think I just think like 60-year-old me, but it wasn't until seeing a number like that I was like, what is the number? Like what's gonna ever make you feel safe enough when almost a best case scenario is staring me in the face? I feel safer and secure in my money now than I did before, but ultimately having money doesn't fix your scarcity issues. Like that's still something that's deep rooted, that's in you, that you have to deal with separately. So when I look at what investing has done for me, it buys you the ability to take risks, but it also increases your risks. And so right now I'm at a phase where I feel like I can take this year to figure out my next chapter. I can take a bit of a risk of, do I want to take some time to just travel? I can take the risk of, do I want to start or shift my career? Do I want to like build something new? Do I want to take a risk and like build an app with my friend that I'm looking at doing, and those kind of things? And I feel like that safety net of knowing that I've already invested that money and that past me did that for this future me, that really feels like it allows me to take risks. The flip is I feel like I have so much more to lose. I feel like I have set myself up and now my job is to not mess it up. And I had to let go of the stress of that because we kind of call it the gap of, in theory, we'll be okay when we're 40. But if we're 31 and 32, like the gap is what do we do in between to make money and to not have to dip into it so that we don't ruin what we've set up for ourselves. It kind of comes back to that loss aversion I was talking about. It's like, it feels like now I'm operating out of a place where not continuing to invest or not building the business feels like a threat to my security in a way that investing before didn't, we have 3 mortgages. Like, we have risk. If for some reason one of those sits untenanted, we're footing the bill for the mortgage. Our short-term rental, we have like a tight season. It's not always rented as much as we'd like it to be. That's going to come on us. So it's really helpful to have those assets, but also it does mean you have more risk versus somebody who just has like the 20K in their savings account. But it is so worth it. Not just for like what it gives you in the future and watching how that builds, but also for the way that it does allow you to take risks. If this is really sticking with you and you're like, you know what, I can do it. Mal, will you please make me a video that just walks me through getting started investing? Absolutely, I can do that for you. I'm also gonna link some of our past videos below that go through things like how we hit that $1 million in just 5 years. Our step-by-step guide to retiring early, because that's going to go through some of those phases of our plan, and you can look at what my phase 1 looks like, and I'll link a few others that are relevant as well. I think, a big one for me, I talked about needing to enjoy more, be prouder longer. There's a quote that's really been going around lately that says maybe you don't notice your success because you keep raising the bar. And I feel like that's very much true for myself in career, in ambition, in health, when I was doing powerlifting, when I build my businesses. You just keep setting your sights higher, and I don't think it's a bad characteristic to have. I've always known I wanted to live differently. So for me, being ahead of the average, the average person, or what's considered normal, lacks excitement for me because I've always I want more. So I'm always looking at my gap to get to the people I'm looking up to. I'm not looking at, it doesn't make me feel better to look at how much better than other people I'm doing. That just feels kind of icky to me. But I'm looking at the people that I still look up to and what that gap looks like. So it's the interesting thing of like, it's good to surround yourself with people where what you're accomplishing is normal. But I've also realized that I surround myself with such cool people where sometimes I'm making myself feel like I'm so far behind just because of how far I want to be. Now, the very last thing I wish someone told me is just, you're wasting time by being so hesitant. I mentioned out the gate, you've learned much harder thing for much less return on investment. So I want you to think of it now as every day that you're not doing it, it honestly is just a waste of time. It will take you a day. Buy one book, listen to a podcast. Honestly, if you're Canadian, open a Wealthsimple account. It's going to walk you through the steps. It's going to ask you the questions. Think of it like anything else. Another platform that you weren't sure how to use. What did you do? You opened up the platform, you played around in it, and you figured it out. You probably do it in your business all the time. You probably do it with fitness apps or whatever it might be, with a new social media app. Don't be so afraid to do it with investing. I just know it's going to pay off.